in the fight of Latin American visibility, it's also just a fight of visibilizing communities and being like, why are some people invisibilized and some people aren't? And who are we recognizing and who are we not? And how do we kind of look at the communities we have around us and like raise them up? That's how I look at it.
Welcome to Platform Z, or Z, whichever you prefer. Join me, Noah Lennon, as I speak with my generation about a range of topics and themes in the present day. Hola a todos, gracias por sintonizar el 11º episodio del podcast. Don't worry, non-Spanish speakers, I'll do the rest in English. Today I'm speaking with a gifted British-Cuban artist. She's a bold, expressive creative working as an actor, a facilitator, and a teacher. She's an alumnus of the University of Manchester with a BA Honours degree in Drama and English Literature and an alumnus of National Youth Theatre. She's also the co-founder of Latinxcluded, a youth campaign group based in the UK pushing for increased representation for the Latinx community in British society. In addition to that, she performed in the award-winning original play My Uncle Is Not Pablo Escobar that first premiered in June 2023 at Brixton House, playing the role of Lucia. She's a warm, gleeful, and committed soul. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the wonderful Cecilia Alfonso-Eaton.
Yay! Thank you so much.
As you may have seen from the title, today's episode is on Latinx representation in the UK. We'll be discussing what the term Latinx means and what Latinxcluded is doing, why it's important, and everything in between. I think to start, Cecilia, would you like to begin by explaining to the listeners what does the term Latinx mean?
Latinx is an all-encompassing term. What I mean by that is that in like Spanish language, it's quite gendered. And so Latinx felt that it can include also non-binary people within the term. But also, I think now people still use it, but there's also other terms that have started to be used like Latine. And there's just a few others. And some people don't like Latinx as much. Some people prefer Latine. And I think it's just like one of those things that's a bit hard because the Spanish language is so gendered. It has a male and female side, either with an O or A. And sometimes it makes it quite hard to make terms feel inclusive, especially for our gender non-conforming community as well.
Yeah, it is interesting. I hadn't heard of it before the episode, so I had to research myself. It is great that that's a non-gendered term. There's so much masculine and feminine in Spanish, so...
Yeah.
In the language.
And I don't know if it's the same in Portuguese, because obviously in Brazil they speak Portuguese. But yeah, I think it's just trying to be a more all-encompassing term and more inclusive.
Yeah. This is a self-promotional break.
Hey, how do you do? I promise you guys, I will stop these soon. Okay, I'm not even sure how useful they are. But either way, I'm happy to hear your thoughts. Last Friday, the 7th of November, I released a new single called Take It Easy. It's a song I made after a very close friend of mine passed away. It's me singing at the piano with some additional elements, including violins, a double bass, a flute, and a synth. Feel free to listen, or not. I don't mind. Enjoy the rest of the episode. Bye now.
So, Latinxcluded. Talk to me about how that started, where the idea came from.
Yeah, we founded Latinxcluded 2018, 2019. So me and the two other girls that I started it with, we joined a social justice group for young people called the Advocacy Academy. We were on a fellowship for 6 months. And the aim of it was at the end to create a campaign about something like we were passionate about. Lots of different campaigns were formed by the groups. And we decided that we wanted to do Latinxcluded because we were all Latin American and had realised that when filling out forms and stuff like that, Latin American isn't on any kind of ethnic category, like on forms or anything like that. If you go to the doctors, it's not on the census. whenever you have to fill out some sort of form, we knew we had to tick other, or in my case, mixed other. And yeah, that kind of came out of frustration of having that. And I think we'd realised it because we'd all at the time been applying for university, and on UCAS, we were filling out the forms, and obviously it asks to put in your heritage and stuff like that. And there wasn't an option for Latin American, and there still isn't. So we did that. And the campaign actually initially started to target universities and like UCAS, but we realised that actually the people that control all the forms and that type of thing in the country, it all comes from the ONS, which is the Office of National Statistics, that does the census and all of that and all the data collection. So actually, to then actually have like fundamental like systemic change, it has to come from the top, which would be the ONS. So we ended up actually collaborating with King's College London and talking to them because we knew that they had quite a high percentage of Latin American students or students of Latin American heritage. We met with them and they agreed to start internally monitoring Latin American like students and staff on their forms. So even though on the like official forms and through the ONS, it wouldn't be recognised, King's College London made a commitment to internally have it on their forms, which proved that also other institutions could do that as well. But that was kind of like the starting point.
Yeah. Wow, so interesting. I didn't know you actually went from more of the academic standpoint. That's really interesting. Since it's been created, what have been the big takeaways that have changed? What are the things that have changed that you're really proud of?
I think the King's College London one was like a really big one. And I remember a few years afterwards, one of my friends was applying for a master's at King's College London, and she's of Latin American heritage as well. She was like, oh my God, like it's on the form. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, this is the reality of it. Like, I feel like I just hadn't seen, obviously, it be put into practice. So that was really heartwarming. I guess also other big things that then ended up happening was like other people in the campaign, for example.
So I lost the part here where Cecilia says Elizabeth, referring to Elizabeth Alvarado. There you go.
She had a meeting with some people in the Arts Council and asked like this, I think it was the CEO at the time, if he would commit to putting Latin American on their forms as well. And he agreed. So that was a really big win, and like felt really like proud of her for, you know, taking that step and asking him outright in this like big meeting. And yeah, I think it's like obviously just building the momentum. Obviously also we started in 2019, but also a lot of there's been a lot of campaigning of it before that, and like other Latin American groups that had been also fighting for the recognition, studies that had happened before about looking into the Latin American community and kind of documenting how many Latin Americans had moved to the UK. But we also realised like all this research had been done, but I think the last time it had been done was like 2012, and we were now in 2019, and we were like, it's obviously increased. And yeah, stuff like that, we were just starting to realise like lack of data, what could be done to change that. But it proved to be difficult. And we had a meeting at the Office of National Statistics as well, who do the census, and they basically told us at the end of 2019 that it wasn't possible to change for the 2021 census. And so now the aim is for 2031.
What would that include in the aim?
So the aim would be to have Latin American recognised on the census form as an option to tick when they're asking about. It's complicated because obviously Latin American technically isn't like an ethnicity because it encompasses a whole, like there's a lot of ethnicities under Latin American. So I think there'd be an argument of like how they would like categorise that as well. But at least to have it as an option, I would argue to have that and then mixed Latin American with British as well. And maybe even delve into like white Latin American, Afro-Latino, Black Latin American, and then Indigenous as well. So like have the different categories because that's how they monitor all of that stuff if they were to do it like that. Yeah, and then have that on the next census as an option to tick. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is really important to not be put in a box so easily.
Yeah, I think the thing is, there's some people I've spoken to have said to me like, oh, like, you know, we shouldn't even put people into boxes. And I was like, I agree. We are kind of put into these boxes, I think, in society anyway. It's things like the census. helps us to understand statistics within the community. But without that, then we can't understand how to help the community and what certain communities might need. And without the data, it means that then some communities get missed. And I think with the Latin American community, because it's been so invisibilized and not recognized, it's like actually, if there was a collection of data about the numbers and how we could help our community, it could even be things of like, do we need more people who speak Spanish to help in certain roles within the community and things like that. But it's like, without that data, how are they meant to know? So I think it's kind of things like that. And I get the other side of it of like, we shouldn't even categorize. And I get that. But I think when a community's been so invisibilized, it's almost like, we need the power of getting the statistics to prove that we're here, because without them, there's no, it's to the eyes of like, I guess the government, we're not, but we are. So that's why there's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. It is something that I think a lot of people subconsciously gloss over and are quick to, in a form, just say like, yeah, this is, I guess I'm white or black or mixed, and that's it. But it is that is just a way of, I guess, silencing a lot of communities and suppressing.
There's a lot of layers, and I think I've seen a lot. Actually, follow a really good recommend. It's like a newsletter called Mixed Messages. Every week, this woman interviews a different mixed race person, and they're like varying careers and stuff. But it's really interesting, kind of like hearing all these stories and how I think sometimes the stories, especially of people of like mixed heritages, get overlooked. And sometimes that there isn't a lot of conversation about the nuances of it and how difficult it can be to battle multiple identities and have them within you and in your culture and your family, and what that means to navigate that as well. And so, yeah, then I think you start to question like your place in the world and where you fit in and all of these things when you're kind of feeling like you're being stretched in a lot of different places. And yeah, I think that speaks to, so, like you said, like it speaks to so many different people as well. In the fight of Latin American visibility, it's also just a fight of visibilizing communities and being like, why are some people invisibilized and some people aren't? And who are we recognizing and who are we not? And how do we kind of look at the communities we have around us and like raise them up? That's how I look at it.
I agree completely. And I think it's particularly interesting how this episode ties in with the episode that just came out, which was on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the whole framework around DEI, but also how in the US, Donald Trump is breaking that down with ICE and immigration. And even in this country, how there's a whole push for reform, and what happened in August with the anti-migrant protests across the country and the rise of the far right pushing immigration into the political conversation on why it's so damaging and why it needs to be combated. I think the point is the world's so rich and so colorful, and we need to celebrate cultures and countries and language, all of our differences, rather than drawing them apart. We have more in common than we have differences anyway.
It's so true. And I also think like people are getting pushed to quite extreme views, but it comes from a place of frustration for whatever reason. And what they're not seeing is that actually the problem that unites us all is like the people at the top, the billionaires. And it's like, actually, we're all getting affected by this, but we're getting polarized. People aren't seeing that actually the big issue is like the people at the top, the people that hoard wealth, the billionaires, the people who are destroying the planet. And actually we should be uniting against them. But instead what they're doing is trying to polarize us and separate us and cause destruction. And then people are vulnerable to that as well. And then obviously, then it causes really damaging things to happen, like the rise of the far right and these beliefs that are being fed into people that believe that type of stuff, like really damaging things about migrants, which aren't true. And that again just then polarizes people more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Would you be looking to potentially write things as well in the future?
Yeah, I am writing something.
Great.
Yeah, a little bit more like about, I guess, my Cuban heritage, and like looking a little bit into that. But yeah, that's what I'm going for at the moment. Trying to finish a draft is what I'm trying to do. It's taking a long time. But I'm very interested in theatre, but also theatre and music. Something's in the works.
My last question to you would be, what is your message for the British Latin American community that still feel underrepresented, that feel they are yet to be heard, are yet to be seen, that are fighting a lot of battles every day to find their voice and find their place in British society? What would your message be to those people?
I think my message would be that there's a lot of strength in our community. We are going to get there. I'm confident that we will be on the census in the next census. And we're a community that deserves to be visibilised and heard and represented. And it is happening slowly. Actually, not even slowly, like it is happening. And there's so many amazing people in our community already. I can't even wait for like the next generation and all the incredible people that are here and are currently like growing up. Do you know what I mean? Can't wait to see what they do as well. I feel like that's my message. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I was going to say as well, thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's really going to make a difference for so many young people, so many Latin American, British people anyway, people that are Latin American and in the UK. I think it's going to make a huge difference. So keep doing what you're doing, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. That's very kind. And I have to say that also, I am one fish in a big ocean of fishes. In the sense that, like, sorry, I don't feel like I tried to use a fun quote, but that wasn't that fun. But as in, like, I'm one of many, and like, there's so many of us fighting the fight, and so many incredible organizations that are doing the work. Yeah, there's just like a real big community of people that are like just doing such incredible things. And we just keep fighting the fight.
Exactly. And other campaigns will be linked in the description. You can check out their work there. Okay, yeah. I think let's move on to the Platform Z Quickfire questions. Are you ready, Cecilia?
Yeah.
Vamos. Let's go. What was the most recent thing that inspired you?
I went to see an amazing film at London Film Festival called Mad Bills to Pay. And in brackets, it says Destiny, Dile que no soy malo. Amazing film made by this guy who'd studied here in the UK, like at the film school, but he's from the Bronx in America and Dominican heritage. I think his name is Joel Alfonso, but we'll put it down below. But it was such an amazing film. And I think why it was inspired me so much is because it was made on a really like small budget and like got to London Film Festival. And it was an amazing film about a Dominican family in the Bronx, Latin American representation, also Caribbean Latin American representation. And it was just such a beautiful film. And I found it really inspiring.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, honestly, it's really good.
What is your goal for this month?
My goal for this month? My goodness. To be honest, I think it's just to get through because everything has been so busy, but also to enjoy. It's my birthday month this month, so I've got to enjoy the time as well. Maybe appreciate as well. I feel like when it's time for like birthday and stuff, appreciate things around me. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. What's one bad habit that you need to get rid of?
Oh, probably my phone. But I also am just a bit of a scatterbrain and like seem to want to do everything at once. And sometimes I have to tell myself that like that's not possible. I need to just take things slow. But yeah, I'm trying to be better on my phone because it's a big distraction.
No, I feel that. Just got to put it away, lock it up somewhere.
Honestly, look, yeah.
What does joy look like to you?
Joy for me looks like dancing. I've been going to salsa classes and that has been like the most joy because there's something about people of loads of different generations all dancing together in one room that I just think is the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that answer. That's so great because last week we had music is joy and this week we have dance is joy. 100%, I agree. Salsa, that's so cool. That's great. Are you really good?
I'd say I know the basic steps, but I'm trying to get better. That's the vibe.
That's good. That's another goal for this month.
Yeah, get better at salsa, always.
When have you felt the most love?
I feel like whenever I see my Cuban family, I don't know, like my especially my abuela, that woman, I feel like she like sheds love, like comes off her. And I feel so much love from her. I think that's when I feel the most love. I think sometimes we take these things for granted, but I feel like probably from her. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
What a queen.
Does she make really good Cuban food?
She does. She's an amazing cook. I know sometimes I think about some dishes that you had growing up that I don't have that much anymore. And I'm like, oh, I still remember the taste.
What's one Cuban dish that you would recommend to everyone?
Well, I would recommend having ropa vieja because it's like the classic Cuban beef stew. But also my favourite thing is a tamale, a Cuban tamale. Oh, I love those so much.
Tengo hambre.
Same.
What's the one thing you'd change in today's society?
Oof. I don't know. I think we're living in times though that like feels like community is getting really lost in a lot of different ways. And it's like, how can we support our communities better? For me, I think that's the thing of like, one thing that really frustrates me about London as well is just like how unaware people are sometimes and like just like looking out for people on the public transport and stuff like that. And it's like, actually, if we were able to do that and like really look out for people, like what that would do for our society. And it's because we're all under capitalist stress that no one's like concentrating and we're all kind of in our own heads. But it's like, what would it look like if we opened our eyes to the people around us a bit more?
No, I love that. I think it's so important to find community and cherish community, nurture community, and even just smiling more. That could really impact someone's day.
Yeah, I love to smile at people on the street. I actually would do quite a lot. I'm like,
no, me too, honestly. I think
I'm
because
like,
of
hey.
Manchester as well, I have a bit of a northerner attitude now.
Say thank you in the bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. I know you get to London, everyone's like, so quiet. You're like,
true, yeah. Okay, well, that's the end of another episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you could take some things away from this. Cecilia, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to take a moment now to say to the people, to the listeners, where they can find you, what you've got going on, what you've got coming up?
You can find me on Instagram at Cecilia_AE. Yeah, I'm writing a show. I hope to be able to do some more of it next year. So just keep a lookout. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's the vibes. That's the vibes.
Perfect. And that will be linked in the description as well. You can find Cecilia in the description.
Cool. Yay.
Great. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye. Take care. Okay, wait. Say goodbye quickly.
Oh, me. I need to say goodbye as well. Sorry.
Yeah. Just one. It just adds to it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, bye everyone.
That's perfect.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.